Okay, so this is a lot later than intended, but I'm finally going to talk about week 8 of the 2023 NFL season. Starting, of course, with Tampa Bay at Buffalo. Now, this is a game where I remember watching it and thinking a couple things. Number one, holy shit, the Bills' offense is actually playing football before the fourth quarter. Well, I mean, I guess they're always playing football. Like, they're playing good football. It's like they're moving the ball, they're scoring, they're not turning it over. And then, Josh Allen does this play where, like, he rolls out and a defender is right there and he throws the ball anyways and then it gets tipped and intercepted. I'm like, well, there we go. Like, there's the really dumb Josh Allen play of the day. There was also this one drive where I think they had like a first and goal at like the 2 or some shit. They ended up getting the ball at the 1 and then had like I think it was at least 2, maybe 3 plays at the 1 and they just couldn't get it in. I remember at least one of them. I think it was like the fourth down, like when it was fourth and goal at the 1. I was like, okay, like you didn't run it like with Josh Allen. Like you would think someone like Josh Allen, who's like a big, strong QB who actually runs the ball all the fucking time, you would expect the Bills with that dude to run a tush push or the brotherly shove or I don't know, what would you call it in Buffalo? What would you call it in Buffalo? I don't know. I'm not thinking of anything creative off the top of my head. But regardless, it's like you think someone like Josh Allen could run that really fucking well and they don't even try. Like they throw to like the corner of the end zone and like they throw to the flat and it doesn't work. I'm like, why? Did teams learn nothing from watching the Seahawks lose that Super Bowl? You don't have to run every time, but you gotta try it at least once. And again, like there's this unfucking stoppable play. Granted, the Eagles have a fantastic offensive line and a very strong quarterback. That is an important part. Like the O-line and the QB are both important parts of the equation. But you would think, again, with like a really strong, you would at least try it once, even if it doesn't work. I was like, what the fuck is this? Another thing I was thinking all game is, why the fuck did I start Mike Evans in fantasy this week? Because bro was doing cardio like most of the game. Until, like, when did he catch that touchdown? There's like 2 minutes left? Maybe 2.5? Because the Bucks offense really didn't do much because I think they tied the game after that Josh Allen interception. Then they were down 2 scores most of the game, and it wasn't until there was like 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter that the Bucks were able to sustain drives. And even then, it was like, hey, Baker Mayfield got sacked on fourth down. Nope. As he's being brought down like it's a clear sack, dumbass grabs the face mask. So there goes the sack, 15 yards for Tampa, idiot. And then it was another fourth down. I don't remember what the call was. If it was like PI or illegal contact, but there was one of those. And then on the next fourth down, they score a touchdown. Buffalo gets the ball, gets a first down. They're at about midfield. It's 4th and 1, and they choose not to go for it. Tampa gets the ball. They're in Hail Mary range. I heard this like during the game, and when people were talking about the game afterwards, like other videos that I watched, I'm like, yeah, it is really fucking weird to see a Hail Mary hit the ground and no one, like, even go for it. Like, it's not tipped. It's not caught. There's no, like, someone jumps for it, but they, like, miss it or some shit, or, like, it hits the ground and then someone tries to grab it. It's just like, no, it just harmlessly hit the turf. Granted, it to me looked like Mike Evans was being interfered with. I wasn't as sure with Godwin if that was kind of like both sides hand fighting, but like Mike Evans was getting like clearly held by 2 dudes all the way down the field. And I was looking at it and I'm like, that. I think this is the second time in 3 games the Bills have committed like clear fucking PI and have gotten away with it. I don't know how good Buffalo is. I feel like this, when they don't get in their own way, they are a good offense, making up for a very heavily injured defense. But even with that really good offense, they were lucky to beat the Giants. And they were lucky to beat Tampa. I already said it in like my picks video. I don't think they're beating Cincinnati with like the way the Bengals are clicking. Again, unless the Bengals' weird curse of the season, which they've only beaten teams from the NFC, and every time they battled an AFC team, they've lost. Unless Cincinnati is just fucked with that the entire season, I don't think they're losing to Buffalo on Sunday night. I hope it's a great game. I'm looking forward to a really fun game. And I understand, it's like, it is, like, heard that phrase, it's better to be lucky than good. And there is some merit to that, because, like, yeah, you can be a really good team, but if you're on the wrong side of, like, of luck, you're gonna get fucked. Like, it does not matter how good you are, because you can just get screwed. I'm a Saints fan. I know what that's like. But you still want to make sure you're, like, actually really good, too, and you're not just relying on luck, and that's kind of how Buffalo has felt lately. Hopefully they can turn it around and stay solid, but yickety yikes. As for Tampa, hi, Jose. Sure, let me pause real quick. Sorry, roommate was going to take a shower, which you might hear the water from the shower. Sorry if that's distracting, but we're going to move on to the next game. Next game was did I say the score for this game? I don't think I did. Buffalo won 24-16. Excuse me, 24-18, because the Hail Mary would have, the 6 from the Hail Mary would have tied the game, and then the extra point after, which they probably would have made, would go in, and then they would win. Although, if they didn't make the extra point and it went into overtime, that actually would have been really funny. Regardless, the next game, the Jets and the Giants, a 13-10 game that ended in overtime, which is really weird to think that the Jets won on the road in their own fucking stadium. It's kind of one of those weird little intricacies. Tyrod Taylor's curse strikes again, where the poor guy gets injured and he was replaced by Tommy DeVito. And I've seen different jokes. I've seen Goodfellas jokes. Like, one of the first note I had written down was, as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a giant. I've also seen, like, Danny DeVito jokes. Like, is this guy Danny DeVito's son? I have no idea, but I mean, that'd be pretty cool. But, Tommy DeVito came in. I think I saw he completed one pass for -1 yards, or it was like -8 yards, but because the Giants, I think, finished the game with, it was like -1 yards or some crazy shit. Tyrod was in, I think he left the game in the second quarter, so the Giants had an entire half of football just without forward passes being part of their game plan, which is really, really bad. Saquon had like 100 and something. I think he had like 120, 128, something like that on the ground. He went off. Again, this is like the dual nature of Saquon Barkley. When he's there, when he's healthy, he's really fucking good. There's a reason the Giants drafted him number 2 overall. There's a reason the Giants did end up paying him at least something so they could keep him on the team, because he's really good. He's a fucking asset. Look at what he did for them last year. Also, the reason they didn't want to pay him a huge deal is because he hasn't always been available. Even this season, he's missed a few games. And that's been the story of his career. Like, whenever it's like, the running back position is devalued, I'm like, I get it. Because you do see a lot of guys, like, get injured. And then when their replacement comes in, or it's like a guy that's drafted really low, fucking balls out and outperforms them. Like, look at the Chiefs. You got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I believe was a first-round pick. If not, he was like the very top of the second round, who's getting outplayed by Isaiah Pacheco, was a 7th rounder. And it's like, no, this is our guy. That kind of shit just feels like it happens, like, with so many different teams. Like, even some elite guys. Like, remember Todd Gurley? Gurley was fucking elite. Only had a few seasons in the tank, though. Really great seasons, but you can't really pay a guy for the future if you don't think he's gonna be that great in the future. Anyways, though, getting distracted. Saquon had a fucking day. Garrett Wilson had a fucking day. He had like 100 yards. Breece Hall had a 50-yard touchdown catch, which it was one of those where it's not like, damn, Zach Wilson like threw it 50 yards. It's he threw it like 8, and then Breece Hall is an absolute unit and took it to the house. Zach had some bad fumbles. I think there was one where he fumbled the snap, which I was that the one on the first. Because I know there was like a fumble on the first drive, and I know there was another one later. Which, granted, at that point they were on like their third center, so you're like, I kind of understand why they maybe not aren't on cue with the snaps at this point in the game, but that's not good. Here's why the Giants lost. Aside from, again, their inability to complete a forward pass for more than like 2 yards in the fucking 2.5 quarters of the game. Senor Gamaragano had 2 field goals that he missed. It was like a 47-yarder, I think, and like a 33-yarder. It was like a 33 or a 35-yarder. But this is Graham Gano. Senor Gamaragano. Like, I love that fucking video. It's like one of my favorite announcer calls. Like, it's beautiful. It's like, that dude should be able to make at least one of those kicks. In a game you lose by 3 in overtime, that's the difference in the game. And you can argue, it's like, well, if he had made both of them, the score would have been, because they already had 10 points, that would have been, yeah, because the Jets had 7 at that point. The Giants already had 10. So if you have one of those kicks, the Jets have to make a touchdown. If you make both of those kicks, it's a 9-point game, which means the Jets can't win with a touchdown. Like, it would be 2 scores. But at least, because like that 37-yarder, like the 35-yarder, was after the Jets had a failed 4th down conversion. I remember it being a strip sack, but I could be wrong about that. I might just be thinking of the Washington game, because that is a thing that happened. But they failed to convert. Yeah, I don't think it was a strip sack, but it was a sack. That's what it was. I think it was the first drive was a strip sack, and then later in the game was the bad snap. And then Zach gets sacked. Boy, that feels like a tongue twister. Zach gets sacked on 4th down. Giants have like a 4th and 1, go for the field goal, miss the field goal. Jets get into field goal range with under a minute left and like no timeout. So it's like maybe they would have had a play to get it into the end zone afterwards. So it is possible the Giants still lose in regulation. But I kind of doubt it given how bad the Jets offense was. Like, I don't remember who was who, but one of the 2 teams was 2 for 15 on 3rd down, which is abysmal. And the other was 2 for 19 on 3rd down, which is atrocious. It was bad. I have seen so many memes on this game. Was like one of the worst games they'd ever seen. Like this abysmal performance. Like, wow, props to the NFL for actually finding 10 minutes worth of highlights for this game. Both of these teams have good defenses. Both of these teams do have really good skill position players. Barkley, despite the offensive inefficiencies, had a day. Same for Garrett Wilson. Breece Hall made some good plays, but I mean, props to the Jets. Like, it's an ugly, nasty game, but they're above 500 again for the first time since week 1. And I don't know when Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but it's a when now, not an if. Which is not something anyone was thinking was a possibility after that, the Achilles snap. Whatever he did, I hope it's healthy. Like, I hope it's all like legit, genuine, and it doesn't have any ill side effects for him. I hope that J.K. Dobbins and Kirk Cousins can get something similar. Whether it's like they get back on the field this season, or at least they're able to have a speedy recovery. I wish them nothing but the best. But now, like, my gears are turning, and I'm like, when does he come back? Could Rodgers, like, only come back if they make it to the Super Bowl? Can he play in the playoffs, but they have to win a playoff game? Will he come back in, like, 2 weeks? 5 weeks? I don't know. But I'm fascinated. But there's always that downside, too, because there was this one year with the Packers where he had a bad injury, which I think actually happened a few of his Packer years. But there was one, I think it was the collarbone. It was like his clavicle got fucked up, and he was out, and it was like he might be out for the year, but he was able to come back. I think the game he came back was against Carolina, and I believe that was their 15-1 Super Bowl season. They didn't win it, but they got to the Super Bowl, the Newton MVP. I think it was that year, and when they played Carolina, it got re-injured, and then not only was he like, yeah, he's for sure out the rest of the season. I don't remember if he was available week 1 of the next season. I think he was, but I could be wrong about that. Anyways, my point is, if he is able to come back, I hope it's not rushed. And it's like, yeah, like he was able to come back, but he came back too quickly. And he just re-injured his Achilles. And now his rehab and his recovery is going to take even longer, you know? I hope he gets better. I hope he gets well. Good win for the Jets. I mean, it's not a pretty win, but a W is a W. So, 2 of the 3 New York teams, I mean, New York, because, they're both in New Jersey, but, 2 of the 3 got a win, so that's something. Next was the Jags and the Steelers, where Jacksonville won 20-10. I remember watching Pickett throw, I think there was, 2 passes he threw that were very nearly intercepted, and one was straight to the defender, hit him in the chest, and the dude just couldn't catch it. I know he also got injured in the game. I don't think he's playing tonight. I could be wrong about that, but I think it is Trubisky, which means, unfortunately, there was no fourth quarter Pickett magic. They just had fourth quarter Trubisky, which, unfortunately for the Steelers, isn't really much of anything. The Steeler defense forced 3 turnovers in this game. Jacksonville didn't get a touchdown because they would lead. I think they had 3 field goals at halftime. I think their 1 touchdown was halfway through the third quarter. I believe that was the ETN where it's ETN went out as a receiver, caught the ball in stride, and then just went into the end zone. I really like watching ETN play. He's really good. His chemistry with Lawrence is very good, which makes sense. They both play together in Clemson. Have anything else to... Pickens did have this really cool, hurdle for a touchdown that I enjoyed. That was pretty cool. I don't really have that much else to say. I do remember Trevor Lawrence throwing an interception. I was like, that was a really bad interception. You should know better than that, dude. Come on. But I feel like I've said this a lot the past few weeks. The Jags are rolling. They just keep winning. This was win, number 4 or 5 in a row? I think there's 4 teams in the AFC now that are 6-2. I think it's Jacksonville, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Ravens are all 6-2. So it's kind of a dogfight for that 1 seed. And even then, the Ravens have some teams kind of snapping at their heels. Cincinnati's coming back into this. Cleveland hasn't fallen out of this. And, say what you will about Pittsburgh, but they're still in the AFC North race. The Chiefs, it's just theirs to lose. The Dolphins, I mean, they have the Bills to worry about. Like I've said, I'm not really sure how good Buffalo is right now. Who's the other team in that division? Oh, the Jets. Because, I'm thinking of the Patriots. The Patriots aren't that good. The Jets probably aren't going to win the division. They might get a wild card. And then in the South, it really feels like this is Jacksonville's division to lose at this point. But we'll kind of see how it goes. So, the next game is Philly and Washington. So, Philly, I think, at this point is the only team with 1 loss. They are 7-1. So, for the second year in a row, they've just have the best record in football at this point in the season. Because I think last year they were the only undefeated team at this point. Because I think they were 8-0. And then I think it was in week 9 that they lost to Washington, or their 9th game. I don't remember when they had their bye. But this time, playing Washington in Washington, they did not lose. But this was a wild fucking game, dude. This was a fucking shootout. Both quarterbacks had 4 touchdowns in the game. Dotson had a really good game. Crowder had a really good game. Smith had a really good game. And A.J. Brown had a fucking monster game. This dude, I'm so glad I have A.J. Brown on my fantasy team. I was I saw what he did last year. I want that guy. Tennessee wants that guy. They want him back. It was a first round pick. So, that's still good value for a player. If you're we're not going to pay him, let's at least get a first rounder. But the Eagles did that, and they haven't looked back. That was such a fucking good trade for Philly, man. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at my notes, and again, I have really shitty handwriting, so sometimes I have trouble finding what I'm saying. Some of the things I really remember about the game, aside from like some of the big touchdowns, the Eagles had not one, not three, but two fumbles that were near the goal line or like in goal to go situations. One was the tush push. I think there was another one where DeAndre Swift fumbled like around the 5 or so. There was a point where this was a tie game when Sam Howell threw an interception. And that's what Philly ends up getting the ball back. I believe they scored on that drive and took the lead. And then while down 7, strip sack on 4th down. I mean, Washington recovered, but it was 4th down, so it didn't matter. And then the Eagles were like, cool, let's increase the lead. That's really what the difference in the game was. It's like the Eagles had some fumbles, which means they could have won by a lot more. Washington, at least the Washington offense played really well. Again, I mean, the Washington defense was able to get some turnovers. They still gave up a lead. They still gave up 4 touchdowns. And then they ended up trading 2 of their players. And there's that part of me that is, I think I said this in the picks video, that I just think is funny in kind of a fucked up way. How Jonathan Allen is, after the loss to the Giants, he's like, dude, this fucking sucks. Like, I've been on this team for so long. All we do is lose. It's frustrating. And, like, there's almost this sense of, like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to do this shit. And come the trade deadline, they trade 2 dudes on their D-line, and none of them are Jonathan Allen. One of them is Montez Sweat, who gets moved to the Bears. It was for a 2nd-round pick, and the other guy's for a 3rd-round pick. So they move Montez Sweat to the Bears, and like, well, can you imagine that? It's like, good news, you're going to trade it from Washington. Yes, the bad news, you're going to the fucking Bears. Well, shit. And then the other guy was Chase Young. It's like, good news, you're getting traded from Washington. Yeah. The better news, you're going to San Francisco, and if they can get their shit together, which they should, and they probably will, but I mean, that's 3 in a row. Like, you could maybe say if, but they should. If/when they get their shit together, you're going to be on a Super Bowl favorite. Like, can you imagine being So imagine being Jonathan Allen being like, I really want to get out of here. 2 of my teammates got moved and I didn't. Fuck. Or being Montez Sweat and being like, I got out of Washington. Thank goodness. Fuck. I'm going to the Bears. And then Chase Young. Holy shit. I'm going to the 49ers. I can win a Super Bowl this year. It's kind of funny to me. And then for the Eagles, yeah, like, they won another game. They only have 1 loss on the season. And with all the shit that's been happening to San Francisco the past few weeks, they look to me like no question the best team in the NFC. You can make an argument for Dallas, and boy, I might have to in a second because that's the next game. And they play next week, and I'm really excited for it. I do have Philly winning that game, like I said, but I'm really excited for it. Let's go ahead and talk about this. The Rams at the Cowboys. At one point, Dallas was winning by 30. It was 33-3. It was beautiful. It's a work of art. It's like, Dallas, this is what I want to see. If you fashion yourselves a Super Bowl contender and you view the Rams as a thoroughly inferior opponent, and I mean, given how like wildly inconsistent the Rams have been all year, they really should be, destroy them. Don't give them a fucking chance. It's like, yeah, the Cowboys defense gave up, like, what was the final score here? Oh, yeah, I don't think I said the score of the other one. It was Philly won 38-31. This one, the game was 43? 43-20. It's like, yeah, the Dallas defense gave up 20 points to an inferior opponent. They also had like a blocked punt that ended in a safety, which that's just one of my favorite kinds of plays. That's beautiful. They had a pick 6. They had like several sacks. Honestly, I think they should have had it like that play with Stafford where it's like his arm gets hit. It looked like a fumble that was recovered by Dallas. Instead, I believe they ruled it an incomplete pass. I don't know. It's like, yeah, his arm's going forward, but to me it looked like he had lost possession at that point. So it was less of I'm throwing the ball and more the ball is just kind of here and my hand is going forward, but I did not see control there. So I think Dallas's defense should have had even more shit. And yes, I played them in fantasy. I'm like, Dallas's defense is going to do stupid shit. I can feel it. And holy crap, they did. It was beautiful. The Rams did have this really cool play for a 2-point conversion where they basically just ran the Philly special, and like Stafford had like this diving catch to get it. I was like, that was cool. I appreciated that. Unfortunately, Stafford got injured. I don't remember. I know it's on his hand. I don't remember if it was his thumb or like one of the fingers, but he has an injury to his throw. I believe it's the throwing hand. It's to one of his hands. Either way, it's like really fucking bad for a QB. So he's going to be out. Brett Rippon finished the game. I believe he will be playing next week. So like, I'm not super confident in Brett Rippon. No offense, but I'm just not. But was there anything else I really needed to say? I don't think so. It was just, fuck, that was thorough domination by Dallas. And again, for a team that fashions themselves a Super Bowl contender, that's what I want to see. It's like, you can lose to other teams. Like, you can have a shitty game. You can lose to contenders, but you have to show fight. You have to show that grit and that heart. And that's why the San Francisco game was like, no. You were beaten so badly by like a litmus test team that I don't believe in you anymore. This game does not convince me that, like, oh yeah, Dallas is for sure, like, they can win the Super Bowl now. I mean, they can. Again, if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen at that point. This doesn't quite change my opinion on them. The Philly game might. If they beat the Eagles, my opinion on them will be a lot better. If they lose to the Eagles, but it's a close game, and it's like, Dallas had their chances, they just couldn't quite get it done. Unless they like actively choke, then if they're clearly actively choking, then like, yeah, you just can't hang. If it wasn't a clear choke, it was just a good game, they came up short, I'll have more faith in them. If it's like the San Francisco game where they just get their asses kicked for 60 minutes, and like, yeah, what do you know? They've been fool's gold all year. But good fucking win for Dallas though this week. Next game was Minnesota at Green Bay, 24-10 win by the Vikings. Unfortunately, it came at the expense of Kirk Cousins. I think when Kirk was playing, they punted one time. There was another drive that didn't end in points because it was a missed field goal. But he tore his Achilles, and I really fucking hate to see it. Like, he's had a fantastic year so far. Even if it hasn't always shown up in the win column, he's been playing really well. And it's like, yeah, even without Justin Jefferson in the lineup, the offense has still been cooking, and a lot of that is with Kirk. And they didn't have a turnover while he was... I mean, again, you can argue a missed field goal. I mean, you're still turning the ball over, not getting points. But like, the only fumble they had was his replacement coming in and fumbling the ball on a strip sack. As for the Packers, the second half Packers showed up, but not on the scoreboard. Because, I mean, you're down 2 touchdowns late in the fourth. You're like, all right, we have to get it in the end zone. And they just quite couldn't. But they were able to move it down there a couple times. The fact that they start so slowly, like I was talking about it with the Bills, it's like you can't just start playing offense in the fourth quarter. You do it every 60, like all 60 fucking minutes. I don't think this Packer team is very good. Things can change. We're only like halfway through the season. I've seen teams make huge comebacks in the second half. I have seen teams go through epic collapses in the second half. It can happen. But Green Bay doesn't look very good. I don't really know what's going to happen to them. Like, if Kirk was still healthy, I could argue Minnesota, like, pushing for a wild card spot. They traded for Josh Dobbs. And depending on who you ask, that's either a really good trade given what happened, or it literally does nothing for it. Like, I remember, like, seeing it. I know I said this yesterday, but it's like the first 2 comments on, like, Josh Dobbs has been traded. The first was like, man, the Vikings got, like, a really great player with this. Like, that's a good trade. And the responses to that were, why do you think he's great? You clearly don't watch football. The second response was, that does literally nothing. The dude is trash. And the responses to that were, you think he's trash? Clearly you don't watch football. Just kind of funny that way. It's like, I don't really know what to think of that. But, I mean, hopefully the Vikings can, like, put something together. I think this is also the last year of Kirk's contract in Minnesota. So who knows if they actually bring him back? Maybe he goes somewhere. If he does leave Minnesota, would he go to the Bears? I don't think so. I think he would probably want to stay in Minnesota if he could. Who else really needs it? I don't really want to go through like especially like injury speculation. That's not really fun. So I'm just gonna move on from there. But a Pyrrhic win, but still a good division win for the Vikings. After that, Atlanta and Tennessee, 28-23. Although I kind of want to say it's Atlanta against Houston because they were wearing the Oiler blue. They had the fucking Oiler logo on the helmets. On the field, they had the fucking Oiler logo. I was like, damn. They ain't the Tennessee Titans. This is the fucking Houston Oilers. And boy, they fucking played like the Houston Oilers. Not to say they had an epic choke, although they almost did. But like this was, fuck, what did they call it? Like the shoot and shoot offense? It was some shit like that. Because I don't think they called it the run and gun, but it's supposed to be something similar. Because Will Levis was fucking slinging it everywhere. This was his first game, his debut as an NFL starter, and the motherfucker throws 4 touchdowns. I think he had no interceptions. It really was just, fuck it, D-hop down there somewhere. Boom, boom, boom. And then the fourth one, I don't remember who the fourth one went to. I didn't go to DeAndre Hopkins. But what do you know? You throw it to DeAndre Hopkins and your offense will fucking do shit. Like, why could Tannehill not do that? Why could Malik Willis not do that? Like, I don't get it. Is this just the power of the Oilers? It was kind of awesome to watch. For Atlanta, Desmond Ridder really wasn't getting anything going. He got benched. I heard it might have been, I heard actually just yesterday there might have been a concussion involved. But he's not starting. It's going to be Heineke starting this week. Heineke finished the game. Taylor Heineke, to me, is the epitome of the phrase, oh, he got that dog in him. Because it just feels like he's never the starter. But then when he comes into the season, he gives the team that spark. And it's like, you can tell, like, is he the best quarterback? No. But he really fights hard. And it feels like his teammates always respond to that. Atlanta did make a push to come back at the end of the game. They had the ball with a chance to win. I don't know who it was that dropped it, but it was like 4th and 1. Ball hits the dude in the hands, and he just drops it. Game is over. Which, I mean, you hate to see it, but I'm a Saints fan, so I want the Falcons to lose, so I love to see it. And it's like, I mean, I know what that's like. Foster Moreau thing happened. At least that wasn't the game-tying touchdown, but, you know, it kind of is what it is. Is there really anything else I had to say? Nope. It was Van Jefferson. I did write down who dropped it. But I think that's about it. So now we're going to move on to New England and Miami. This was a 31-17 game where in Jalen Ramsey's first game back, he has a pick. Not a pick 6, but it's a big return. And I've seen the Mike McDaniel thing where he's like, what did you think of, Jalen Ramsey in his first game back doing that? He's like, I'm really disappointed, I mean, it wasn't a pick 6 like he said it would be. It was a pick field goal. Like, come on, man. Why do you think we have you here on the team? Like, I said Josh McDaniels. Completely fucking different coach, by the way. Mike McDaniel is so fucking funny. I haven't seen the clip of it, but apparently there is this thing where someone asked him, it's about his relationship with the officials, to which he said, well, it's not monogamous, and that's really fucking funny. I like that a lot. But yeah, it's Ramsey had a big fucking play. I've seen that play where Tyreek catches a deep ball and just immediately runs to the bench. That was really fucking cool. He has 1,000 yards on the season, 8 games in, so he's on pace for 2K. It is 2K. That's fucking wild. That is insane. Tua's probably the leader for MVP at this point. If Tyreek, I almost said Tyree. I almost didn't add the K. That was weird. If Tyreek, though, gets that 2K, you might just give it to Tyreek Hill. I don't know. A receiver's never done it. I would be I don't want to be the guy that's I hate quarterbacks, or anything, but it's I really want to see a non-QB win MVP because it's most valuable player, not most valuable quarterback, Now, granted, in a lot of seasons, it really should go to a quarterback because this dude is the MVP. I don't want to say that every time a QB wins, it's unearned, but I will always think that J.J. Watt got snubbed that year that Aaron Rodgers won MVP. No disrespect to Aaron Rodgers. I know he had a really great season, but come on. I still think that should have been J.J. Watt's. But regardless, the Patriots just can't win in Miami. For whatever weird reason, they've not beaten Tua. Do I really have anything else to say? Oh, yeah, I do remember there was this point like near the end of the third quarter where a Patriots player dropped a really easy interception. Definitely could have been a big game changer. Could have changed a lot of momentum in the game, but they didn't. They ended up losing. But at least Belichick did get win 300 already. New Orleans and Indianapolis, 38-27. The Saints scored 38 offensive points. I'm shocked. And it wasn't like, yeah, we played like dog shit for 3.5 quarters, and then the fourth quarter went, oh yeah, we know how to play football now, and then we're able to do shit. No, like they were scoring throughout the game. That's weird. Holy shit. Fuck it, Rashid Shaheed down there somewhere. Dude had 3 catches and 153 yards and a touchdown. He had a bomb from Derek Carr, and then to end the game on 3rd and 13, just another bomb to Shaheed. Taysom Hill threw like a bomb to Shaheed that was one of those like simultaneous catches. That was really fucking cool to see. I love that. Shaheed had a deep shot touchdown. Kamara had a touchdown from Carr, ran a touchdown in. Taysom Hill ran 2 touchdowns in. And I think 4 of those 5 happened in the red zone. So we fucking learned how to score in the red zone. It's like, oh my god, we did all the things we were supposed to fucking do. The defense was able to do some shit. Like, there was a point where Minshew throws a ball that Adebo intercepts at the Saints 1-yard line. So it's like something that could have been a touchdown for the other team. Turnover, let's go. It's like a pretty decent return after as well. The first drive on defense was not good. We got into like a 4th and 1. Then they kicked a field goal, made the field goal. But I don't remember what exactly. I don't know if it was offsides or it's like someone tried to block it but like touched the long snapper or some shit. But the Colts got a first down, got to another 4th down, but they scored. So one of those weird Saints things, kind of like what happened with the Texans, where it's like, yeah, well, at least we didn't give up a touchdown. Wait, what? It's going to be one of these kinds of games, huh? It's going to be one of these kinds of shit show fucking games where neither side of the ball can, oh, wait, what do you know? We scored right after. Well, that's weird. Hey, what do you know? The defense is like doing what it's supposed to and not letting the Colts score. Huh. We were competent. We were good. Please do more of this. Please don't lose to the Bears. Please don't lose to the Bears. I'm gonna be so sad if we lose to the Bears, man. I might not even show my face. I might just like keep my head down or put a fucking bag over my head just like we lost to the Bears. I'm not doing a review video this week. I'm too depressed. After that, let's just go to the next game. Houston and Carolina, 15-13. I almost said Houston. No, 15-13 Carolina. I had said they would win. They did. It was in the sports ball video. It's like, yeah, Browns and Lions pop the champagne. There will not be an 0-17 team this year. I had said, it's like, yeah, you're coming off a bye against a rookie QB and a rookie head coach against the number 2 pick while you've got the number 1 pick. That feels like a game that you should win, and they did. Houston lost by 2. There was a point in the game where they went for a 2-point conversion, and they didn't get it. That is technically the difference in the game, but also by the same vein, Carolina missed a PAT. If they had made that, I mean, they would have won by 3, so they still would have won anyways. What impresses me is that Carolina had the ball, down 1 with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and Houston did not get the ball back. They went on a game-winning drive ate up the clock, did not give the other team a chance to respond. And like, that is the kind of shit you want out of your number 1 overall pick. Win the game. Like, be able to efficiently win the game. Don't just get the go-ahead score. Kill as much clock as possible. I really like that. No offense to him. I hope he can't do it consistently because he plays for a division rival. That is not me trying to say I hope Bryce Young sucks. I hope he does well. I hope the Panthers suck. That's my bias. I will wear it on my sleeve. Is there anything else I really wanted to say in this game? Not really. Oh, Bryce Young was sacked 6 times. That's not good. They really need to like re-up or revamp their offensive line, but good for Carolina finally getting on the board. After that, Cleveland and Seattle, a game that Seattle won 24-20. So Seattle got off to like an early lead. I think it was 14-0. Sorry, my brain just fucking stopped. Cleveland was able to respond. Cleveland was able to take the lead, but there were a couple drives where they could only get field goals and not touchdowns. So it was 20-17. They have the ball with a chance to end the game. It was, I think, just over 2 minutes. They threw on 3rd and 3, and it was tipped and intercepted. And then Seattle was able to take it down, get the game-winning score. Cleveland, I think, had 2 timeouts in about 38 seconds, but just couldn't do shit. Unfortunately for PJ Walker, he's just not that great. Unfortunately for the Browns, he's probably doing more for the team than Deshaun Watson. So, I don't really know what to do if you're Cleveland. I don't really know. Is there anything else I really have to say? PJ Walker, I think both QBs threw 2 interceptions. PJ Walker threw the one to end the game that was tipped. The other one he threw in field goal range, which, I mean, even if you get that field goal, you would still have lost the game by 1. But, hey, maybe they could have gotten a touchdown on that drive, so they wouldn't have lost the game. Geno threw one in the red zone. The other one, I think his other one was also a deflection. I think it was Cleveland. I think it was near the end of the game, like, had an easy pick 6 that was dropped. That one really, like, that and that, I mean, if both QBs have interceptions, especially, like, in scoring position, they kind of cancel each other out. I feel like that drop pick 6, that's really why it feels like Cleveland lost the game. Because you get that, you're up 2 touchdowns, essentially, at the end. Well, I mean, you're up 10 at that point because they had lost, because they were up 3 at the time. But it's 2 scores, so Seattle would have also needed to get an onside kick. And maybe they could have gotten it. One was recovered this week, but it's an onside kick, so they probably don't, and Cleveland probably wins. But good win for Seattle, though. Like, they're first place in the NFC West. I wasn't expecting that. And I still thought Seattle would be like a good team. They'd be solid. Kind of like what Dallas is. I think I have them below Dallas, but like still pretty good. But I did not expect the 49ers to fall like this. Even though I had said like, yeah, I think Cincinnati will win. Like the Cleveland win felt possible, but not super likely. I really did not expect them to lose to Minnesota though. Speaking of which, the next game is Cincy against San Francisco, which Cincy won 31-17. The Bengals did leave some points on the board. You know, they had a missed field goal. They had that goal line fumble before halftime. The 49ers tried to capitalize. They just didn't have enough time to do so. Purdy threw a pick in the red zone, down 7. Like, they had a chance to tie the game, fucked it up, and then threw another. I think literally his next throw was also an interception. He has not looked good. The Bengals have been cooking. The Bengals look like they really got their shit together. Burrow looks fine. Like, he looks fully healthy. Like, he can play some football. But, man, what the fuck happened to the 49ers? I heard that Purdy was concussed. I think it was in the Vikings game. He was concussed at the end, but he was never taken out, which is a fucking problem. I don't know if he still had any of the symptoms this week. I'm assuming no. I understand that the Bengals do have a lot of playmakers on defense, but this is 3 weeks in a row he's looked like shit. The first one, you're like, it's Cleveland. It's a good defense. It's in the rain. I get it. Shit happens. 1 is an accident. But 2 is a trend, and 3 is a problem. And these last 3 weeks, I can't even really say in week 1 because he at least looked, sorry, itchy nose. At least in week 1, but like the first of these 3 losses, he put them in field goal range. The kicker just missed. He played like shit pretty much the entire game, but he put them in position to win. These last 2 games, especially like in those last few minutes, he has looked awful. I don't think the 49ers are quite in like desperation, holy shit, we're fucked mode. But they need to do something. Like This is pretty much why I did not like them trading Trey Lance. It's like, I get it. Purdy is your guy right now with what happened last year. But he's still unproven. Now, he had played really well those the first few weeks of the season, but like he's still unproven. There's a reason you traded up for Trey Lance. You believed in him. I get wanting to start with Brock. He has the hot hand. I mean, I guess in a sense it's kind of a cool hand because you're starting over the season. It's like, I get it. But I also, like, do you remember what fucking happened to your quarterbacks last year? You didn't have one to finish the NFC Championship. Even the 4th stringer ended up getting injured. Like, what the fuck, dude? Why would you willingly give up one of your quarterbacks when something like that happens? Now, they do have Darnold. I won't be surprised if they choose to start him at some point. But maybe this is why they should have kept Trey Lance. Like, all right, Brock isn't playing too well. Maybe he is still injured. Let's have Trey come in, see what he can do. Maybe he doesn't play very well. Maybe he fucking lights it up and he gives the team the spark that you drafted him to have. Like, but I mean, I guess shoulda, woulda, coulda in that regard. It's hopefully Brock can play better for them. If not, maybe Darnold will light it up. If not, we'll see what happens in San Francisco. Or I guess Santa Clara. After that, next is the Chiefs and the Broncos, where Denver won 24-9 because no one beats fuck, I can't actually I don't know how to pronounce his name. Vitas Giroulitis 17 times in a row. Okay, so there's the story of this tennis player. I think it was like Vitas Giroulitis. I'm probably fucking it up. Who had lost to another player 16 times in a row. And after beating him in that 17th game, he had said, yeah, no one beats Vitas Giroulitis, silly. Let that be a lesson. No one beats Vitas Giroulitis 17 times in a row. And that's literally what the Broncos did. No one beats the Denver Broncos 17 times in a row. And all it took was Patrick Mahomes having the flu and not have, like, he had a flu game, but he didn't have a Jordan flu game. Like, he played like he was fucking sick. He was terrible. Denver won the turnover battle 5-1. The Chiefs' defense didn't play terribly. Like, giving up 24 points is not that bad. But Denver's defense played phenomenal. And we've seen some games from Denver's defense where they looked terrible. They gave up 28 to the Bears. They gave up 70 to the Broncos. They gave up, what was it, like 35 to the Commies? I've seen them get destroyed. But both games against the Chiefs, that defense balled the fuck out. They're not out of playoff contention. Now, do I think they're gonna get there? Unless they've really turned the corner, which they have won 2 straight. But have I, like, really believed that they've turned the corner? I don't know. You would think a game like beating the Chiefs would do that, but it's like, yeah, but I mean, Mahomes had the flu. Like, when the best player, when the dude leading the offense is fucking sick as hell, you kind of expect him to play like shit. Beating a healthy Mahomes, they'll be like, no, like, maybe this is something. Also, I have to say it. Taylor Swift wasn't in attendance. And it's like, what do you know? The game where she wasn't in attendance, the offense actually played terribly. Huh. Well, isn't that kind of fucking weird? Like, what a damn coinkydink. But, I mean, I have to bring it up because it is technically true. Of course, correlation doesn't equal causation, but maybe it does. Aside from that, is there anything else to really say? I will say this, Kansas City never even had the lead. That's also kind of fucking wild. Mahomes had no touchdowns, just good fucking win by Denver, man. Next one, Baltimore and Arizona, where the Ravens beat the Cardinals 31-24. So I had said, it was like, I feel like the Ravens aren't going to have this great game next week because, like, they had this huge games against the Lions. I feel like they're kind of going to come back down to earth. Now, just looking at that, you're like, no, the offense scored 34 points. Like, they had a fucking game. They had a fucking day. But I have Lamar Jackson on my fantasy team, and he didn't do shit this week. Like, I played him over Jalen Hurts. Because I think the last few weeks, especially last week, Lamar has outplayed Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, all right, I got to do this shit. I'm going to go with the hot hand. And oh, man, Jalen Hurts had 4 touchdowns and Lamar had like 1. And just did not play very well. Josh Dobbs had 2 interceptions. I think the Ravens scored like after both of them. That certainly helped. They were able to score 31 points. That is definitely a non-zero number. But they just weren't impressive throughout the game. It felt more like they were scoring, it's like they were taking advantage of Cardinals' ineptitude. Though I say that, but I gotta shout out some Cardinals plays. There was that one where I don't remember who the receiver was, but a dude catches the ball, and essentially, like, the entire offense comes and, like, pushes him into the end zone. I think even the announcer was like, assist to the entire offense. That was cool. They also recovered an onside kick. Now, they were down 2 scores. They got one of them and then needed to get another onside kick, which they didn't. But seeing an onside kick recovery, like, actually work, I have to shout it out. And the best fucking part is they kicked it to Nelson Agholor, who couldn't secure the ball, because of course Nelson Agholor couldn't secure the ball. He did it on the second attempt, where like, of course, like this, because they were babies flying out of buildings, so he was catching them, unlike Agholor. Like, I'll never forget that. That shit was so fucking funny. But, props to the Ravens. The Ravens did win. This was Josh Dobbs' swan song game as a Cardinal. Then we get to the primetime games. I'm going to be honest, I did not watch these. I have not seen highlights. I just didn't care. With the Chargers and the Bears, I was going to watch it, and then we had a power outage because the storms were so bad. I was like, this feels like a sign from God that I have better things to do than to watch the Bears on primetime. I picked them to win, which was more of an indictment on the Chargers than anything else, but the Chargers beat them 30-13. And I think it was like 30-7 for a good chunk of the game. Austin Eckler came back. He had a great game. I think he had like 97 through the air. I don't remember how much through the ground, but he had over 100 yards. So I think he had like 120 to 130 total overall. Great game by him. I mean, I've said a lot about Brandon Staley, but what are they? I don't think they're 500 right now. But he was not the first coach fired this season. And you know what? That sounds like it would be a lead up to seeing that it was Eberflus. It's not him either. Because you know what? The Bears have a good culture. I believe they have a, quote, outstanding culture. It's not that the culture is damn good, but it is outstanding. Is there anything else to really say? Not that I know of. I think that Herbert had like 300 yards or something really close to it, which is really good. The other game, the Lions beat the Raiders 26-14. It's not as dominant as I was expecting, and shout out to the Raiders defense for that. They got 3 turnovers, including a pick 6, meaning the Raiders had 14 points and only 7 of them were actually scored by their offense. I mean, technically 6 because, special teams, but whatever. You know what I mean? The Raiders, I don't think, have scored 20 offensive points in a game this season. Jimmy G leads the league in interceptions despite missing multiple games. He did not have a touchdown in this game. If he could throw accurately to Devontae Adams, he would have had like 2 to 3. I saw a compilation of those missed throws. They were really fucking bad. The Lions won because even with the mistakes they made, they didn't make the mistake of signing Jimmy Garoppolo or hiring Josh McDaniels. And it seems that the Raiders, or at least Mark Davis, has finally realized those mistakes. Josh McDaniels was fired on Halloween night, which came out of nowhere. I was not expecting that. And Jimmy G has been benched. And again, something I try to always say is, unless I know someone to be like a pure asshole piece of shit, I don't wish ill upon them. I've criticized Josh McDaniels because I don't think he's a good coach. I've criticized Jimmy G because I don't think he's a good starting quarterback. I don't wish ill upon them. I hope they have great lives. I hope they have great futures. But I don't think McDaniel should have been hired, especially after what happened with the Colts. You can say it's like, yeah, like he was fucking terrible with the Broncos as a head coach. But time has passed. Maybe he's learned. Maybe he's gotten better with like more experience working under Belichick, working with Brady and shit. Like, you can make that argument. But as soon as that thing happened, it was like the Colts hired him. He said yes. They signed their staff. They were ready to go. Then goes, actually, it's like, wow. That is such a bad look. I would be shocked if anyone, aside from the Patriots, like if they want to just promote him in-house after Bill retires, I would be shocked if anyone hires him to be a head coach. Of fucking course the Raiders did. And it was abysmal. He's a good OC. Which even then, like, he's a good OC, but like, then why was his offense so shit as the head coach? I mean, the defense wasn't good either, but, like, the defense did their fucking jobs yesterday. Or not yesterday, on Monday. It's Thursday now. But he didn't. And yeah, Jimmy G, not good, so then fuck it. You're getting benched. Let's see what we got in Aiden O'Connell. And you know what? That's an unknown. For all I know, Aiden O'Connell is about to lead the Raiders to the fucking Super Bowl. Because I think it's in Vegas, too. He could lead them to a home Super Bowl. Do I actually believe that? No. Fuck no. But I don't know. He could be really exactly what this team needs. Maybe he's a leader that can also, like, really galvanize the defense to, like, you know, play up to their potential. I don't know. Like, if you've got an offense that is playing really well, maybe as a defense, you're like, well, we want to match that. I mean, to be fair, though, I'm a Saints fan, and I've seen really good offenses, and it's almost like the defense goes, cool, we don't need to play as hard because we know the offense has got this. But, that was this week in review. That's what the fuck happened in week 8. I've already done my picks for week 9. I'm excited to see what the fuck happens in week 9. That's about it. I'll see you.